For decades, scientists have developed something that could bring us to the root cause of all murder. Are killers born or made?
Hi everyone, I'm Rachel.
And I'm Denise. In this video, we'll be talking about an 11-year-old murderer called Mary Bell. The case of Mary Bell has been a topic of speculations since her crimes took place in the 1960s. She was a young girl who took two innocent lives, and it's believed that her vicious crimes could have been provoked by her abusive childhood. Let's dive in.
It was the summer of 1968 in Scotswood, a community north of London in England. Martin Brown's lifeless body was discovered lying on the floor in an abandoned building. The police found a bottle of pills lying almost empty next to him, so they assumed he had accidentally overdosed, thinking the pills were candy. A few weeks later, Brian Hall was found strangled in an industrial area, where the local children were known to play. She was found with various strange wounds and bruises. A pile of broken scissors lay nearby.
The community was in a state of panic, and the police were looking for an answer. They started questioning all the children in the area. Two children in particular seemed to be acting very strange. Norma Bell, age 13, seemed excited by the murder, and Mary Bell, age 11, also reacted oddly and was being very evasive. As their investigation continued, Mary claimed she had seen another boy with Brian the day he was murdered, and he was playing with a pair of scissors. But the boy was at the airport the afternoon of Brian's murder, and by mentioning the pair of scissors, Mary had implicated herself. The pair of scissors has been confidential evidence. If Mary knew, then she had to know something about the murder.
To the police, it was becoming clear that one or both girls were involved in the murder. They questioned Norma again. This time, what Norma told the police shocked them. According to Norma, Mary had said that she killed Brian, and she had brought her to the abandoned building afterwards to show her his body. Mary described to Norma how she had squeezed his neck and strangled him. When the police questioned Mary, she admitted to nothing and accused Norma of trying to lie and tried to get her into trouble. After Norma provided some additional information, she finally admitted that she was there when Brian was killed. Nonetheless, both of the girls were arrested and charged with murder.
When it comes down to why, it is a hard question. Mary acted alone in killing Martin Brown. Yet, Norma returned with Mary to the crime scene and helped to mark and mutilate Brian's body after death. Were Mary's actions a result of a little girl who was born psychopathic and emotionless, or were her psychopathic actions a result of deep trauma? Mary was known to be violent and to lie often. This violent streak began when she was still a toddler, family said. She would lash out at them and hit them. When family members started to come forward about what Mary had endured in her young life, it started to make a little more sense as to how a young girl could turn into a violent and emotionless psychopath.
Her mom, Betty, was unmarried, mentally ill, and was just 17 when she had Mary. When Mary was born, Betty's response was, "Get that thing away from me." She was eager to give Mary to relatives, and even once tried to give her to a woman who had denied an adoption. But her aunt rescued her timely. Multiple relatives have given accounts of incidents where they believe Betty tried to kill Mary. The first was Mary reportedly fell out of a window, and witnesses swear that they saw Betty push her out. The second was when Mary accidentally took some sleeping pills. Someone claimed that Betty fed her the pills. If all of them are true, it could definitely help explain Mary's strange behavior and cruel behavior, and why she is so devoid of emotion.
What a sad story. I reckon it's impossible for an 11-year-old child to change suddenly from a perfectly sweet, innocent, and normal infant to an evil, cold-blooded, and vicious serial killer.
True. This is the reason why child welfare is extremely important and everyone should be aware of it. Children are gifts from God and they are considered the future of the world. So they need to be protected, nurtured, supported, and most of all, they need love. We must do everything in our power to prevent child abuse and neglect.
Yes, according to the United Nations Children's Fund, at least 2.7 million children are living in residential care. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. A recent report from WHO states that 1 out of 2 children, or in other words, 1 billion children suffer from some form of violence each year. In 2015 alone, violence took the lives of around 82,000 adolescents worldwide, which means every 7 minutes, somewhere in the world, an adolescent is killed by an act of violence.
Well, according to the Star newspaper, community study that have been carried out states that 1 in 10 Malaysian children has been sexually abused. Can you imagine that? That shocking figure has risen even higher during the COVID-19 pandemic as violence prevention and response services have been disrupted. The underprivileged have lost their protection and support that schools often provide due to closure of schools.
We need to act now and with urgency. We are at the risk of losing a generation of children due to the long-term impacts of violence and abuse that will undermine child safety, learning, and development. We cannot let that happen. So, let us support the global campaign #EndViolence. And we have 3 steps to share on how to advocate. Step number 1, educate yourself and the people around you. Always examine your behavior. Abuse is not just physical. Both words and actions can inflict deep, lasting wounds. Use your actions to show children and other adults that conflicts can be settled without hitting or yelling. Share what you have learned on the internet and even talk about it when you are with your friends and family.
Number 2, support prevention programs. Too often, intervention occurs only after abuse is reported. Greater investment are needed in programs that have been proven to stop abuse before it occurs, such as family counseling and home visit by nurses who provide assistance for newborns and their parents. Get involved with others in the community, help vulnerable children and their families. And the last step is to report abuse. If you witness a child being harmed or see the evidence of abuse, make a report to the police. When talking to a child about abuse, listen carefully. Assure the child that he or she had did the right thing by telling an adult, and affirm that he or she is not responsible for what happened. We may not be aware, but any one of our peers, friends or neighbors may be a victim of child abuse. So always be kind and considerate.
We do not want a second Maribel. So if you are a blessed teenager or an adult, you are a part of this. Let us advocate #StopViolence for a better society, a better world. Thank you.